Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of our Community Access. This week, we visit with Ashtons Orchard, then we will visit with Thrivent Financial, then we will visit with Sullivan Law Office, and finally, the JDR Management, all today at our Community Access. Welcome back. A reporter went to the Ashtons Orchard in Ortonville. With the story is our reporter, Alexis.
Ashtons Orchard is open for the season and doing well despite some worries in the beginning. Owners tell me they're grateful but overwhelmed.
The season has been very crazy, not knowing what to expect with all the COVID things going on, and actually sometimes we are comfortable and other times we're just exhausted.
Ashtons Apple Orchard has been around for many years, standing as Oxford and Ortonville's only orchard. Owner Sharon Ashton says things have been going better than expected.
I was not expecting that with COVID. I figured it would be down. But I do find for the most part everybody has so far has been very nice. When they come in, they're very respectful of the rules or whatever you want to call it. We've really not had any problems like that.
Their season began in the middle of the pandemic, but they were still allowed to open.
We don't open here until August, and by then the governor had already mandated mask, and so we followed her rules. And everybody's been very respectful of it. We have a few. We are not a mass patrol, and if their health is compromised, we can't do anything about it. We're very, very safe, and we're trying our very best. That's all I can say. We're just a small business,
doing everything they can to survive. She says the easiest part of the pandemic is continuing to do what they love, picking apples, frying donuts, baking, and serving customers.
We do them every day. We try to keep track of records so we know how many we need to do per day. This year we are limiting orders because we just can't hardly keep up as it is. So we are limiting orders. After November 1st we might be more open to taking orders, but right now we're huffing and puffing to keep up.
Soon customers will be able to order for the holidays.
Later on, after November 1st, we'll be taking pie orders for Thanksgiving. We will take orders for other things then, but right now, because it's been so heavy, we're just trying to keep up. We try to take care of the customers that walk in, take the time to drive out, walk in and buy then, rather than the ones that want to order and maybe pick it up 2 days and maybe they show up and maybe they don't.
Ashton says not much has changed besides them closing 1 hour early every day.
We normally are open, our normal year starts about the middle of August and we go to December 23rd. That is our last day. We have a short day that day just to get the orders out and get everything put away, and we're done for the season. We close up Thanksgiving Day, but we'll have a short day the day before Thanksgiving. Otherwise our hours are 10 to 5, Monday through Saturday. Sunday is 12 to 5.
Customers are still glad they're open at all.
We've been in business 55 years, and we have customers that have been with us since they were yee-high, you know, and will even make a comment to me. I remember coming to your orchard when we were on a school tour, and that really makes me feel old. But the moral of the story is we treat all our customers the same. We try to thank them for everything. We appreciate their business, and we try to keep up with what's going on, but it's just been overwhelming this year.
Ashtons Orchard says they plan to stay open until December 23rd. And as for the apples behind me, the Ida Reds are being picked next week. Reporting in Oxford, Alexis, Oxford Community Television.
From apples to financial, here is Alexis with Thrivent Financial.
As you know, the financial industry in general got bombarded. And there was negatives and there was positive in regards to COVID. So what happened with my clientele is my clientele meets with me on a quarterly or annual basis, and we do a complete review of their portfolio free of charge. And when we meet, we sit down and we do a suitability and we look at their wants and needs, and we always have an emergency fund set aside. So the positive side for my clients was we already knew that if there was something to happen like a pandemic, that we have funds that are waiting there to assist.
Financial representative Laura Herfy says the financial planning and preparation world also got hit hard when the pandemic hit, but customers' well-being was at the top of their company's priorities.
I actually specialize in retirement income planning and taxation. I love dealing with taxation. I love talking to individuals about tax-free savings. A lot of individuals aren't aware of different product types that actually offer tax-free savings. So we like to push that for our clientele and let them know, you know what, we're here to help you become wise with your money and to be able to check off all the goals that you have to accomplish in your lifestyle and your time frame. The great part was the majority of my clients did not have to tap into that funds. They already had tax advantage funds that we had saved up that we were able to tap into. A lot of them had retirement funds that they could tap into. These are for the retiree clients. What happened during COVID also is that the federal government passed the CARES Act. A lot of individuals aren't familiar with the CARES Act, but what it does is if you, let's say, either lost your job or were affected by COVID in some point, you were allowed to take out, or you still are until December 31st, allowed to take out up to $100,000 from a retirement fund such as a 401k or an IRA. And the great part about it is if you're under the age of 59 and a half, the federal government is taking out that 10% penalty. In addition, the tax advantages, you can write this all off in 3 years instead of 1 year.
Herfy says making sure her clients had peace of mind was a daily goal for her.
In times like this, everybody gets anxious. And so as long as you don't, especially when it comes to investments, you don't make decisions based upon your emotions. And luckily, I've been blessed with my clientele that will constantly call me, or I will constantly call them. During the pandemic, I've actually more than 2 to 3 times now have constantly called every single one of my clientele, spoken to them, and wanted to make sure, hey, are you okay? Is everything fine? Whether it's with your financials with me or just in general. I don't mind going out and helping a client if there's something they need. A lot of these clients don't have anybody around, so why not be that person to help them?
A part of that is making sure clients are comfortable.
Obviously, construction has been going on, and I'm right off of these 24, and so it's very loud, it's very noisy. On the days that I know that it's going to be extremely loud, I actually will contact a client a week before or whatnot, and we will reschedule the appointment to suit a location that fits them, whether it's their house or at a coffee shop or different locations. I want to be as accessible to my clientele as possible.
When it comes to business, Herfy says it's nothing to worry about.
Thrivent Financial is actually a not-for-profit Fortune 300. So we are very, very big, very wealthy company. We have over $100 billion of assets under management, so very successful.
That doesn't mean the pandemic hasn't changed the way they do business.
It has impacted the entire company. I would do I would do in-person meetings versus virtual meetings before. I do lectures in regards to Social Security, lectures in regards to the CARES Act, but these used to be in person. And these are free lectures that I offer to anybody. We don't sell any products, we just want to make the citizens aware of all their resources. And it's just nice to do it in person, so then therefore if they have questions they can see you and do it. The only difference now, it's done, Zoom, and it's going to continue to be in Zoom until January. And so a lot of people are just either burnt out with Zoom or just don't understand it. So it's a bit unfortunate to not have those resources available.
That isn't stopping new clients from coming in. Herfy says she's receiving referrals at least once a day. She also has something in mind for new customers.
Anybody that's going to be a new client, I am offering a free complete analysis of their portfolio. So if they want to come in and just bring all of what they have, whether it's investments or when I say free analysis, I take a look at everything from their debt to their credits, and we put everything together and we look at, again, their goals. We want to see where they want to be in life. And so I'll offer a complete free portfolio to see if they can actually manage and accomplish where their goals are going to be.
Now from financial to law, again, it's Alexis with Sullivan Law Office. Alexis?
Work was kind of on hold for a little while there. I was able to do some estate executions via Zoom, luckily, and as things have cleared up, now I'm just now getting back into the office and meeting people, which is kind of nice. It gets lonely, so.
Elena Sullivan, owner and attorney of Sullivan, says before things were put on pause, she had a full plate she had to move home.
Actually, the week that we shut down, I had several appointments scheduled, but my daughter is 8 and she was going to Daniel Axford at the time, and so their school shut down, which meant that mom shut down. Most of my work was done at home pretty much throughout the spring. We were anticipating a short term, you know, so I didn't move my printer home or anything like that. We were kind of just anticipating after spring break going back. But I took the health, crisis very seriously, and I have a young daughter, so I listened to what needed to be said and took the precautions. I do admit that I was cautious with meeting with people, for sure, and I still am cautious and take all the precautions that we need to do, but at the same time, I've had a lot of people contacting me saying that, this health crisis has made them aware that they need their estate plan. So I'm happy to, work with people. I can still do Zoom calls. I know that people are kind of scared to meet in person, so that's understandable.
Sullivan says navigating through this time in the pandemic can be tricky, which is why some of her business is still ran 75% over Zoom and phone calls.
The ones that I am cautious with are the clients who are older, and I'm aware that they have health issues and they're higher risk, so I don't want to put them in jeopardy if at all possible. But they're also the ones who are unsure of Zoom too, so it kind of puts you in a little bit of a predicament. But I'm happy to work with whatever they're comfortable with.
That included adding a few things to her office.
It feels weird. I feel like I'm in a banker, but sometimes I do have to take the mask off to talk to people because, if they're hard of hearing, they can't read lips, and, I understand that I need to be flexible, but it also gives me the added protection. We've pushed the chairs back too, and I hand sanitizer. I sanitize pens when people leave, so I do what I need to do to make sure that they're safe. I have to admit, I got the hand sanitizer pretty early on because I knew that when my daughter went back to school, her teacher would need it, so I kind of gave him some when she started school just in case, and I kept some for myself. But it wasn't terribly hard to find everything, not so much.
While finding the supplies she needed came easily, there are some things that aren't as easy.
It's hard because, I like to work with clients and interface with them, and I understand that, we have to kind of be a little bit more distant. So being personable, which I pride myself on doing, is a little harder when you have to be, stay back and I can't shake hands and things like that. Filing a lot of court documents, they're still working from home. A lot of the courts systems are, some are in person, so it's a little slower, it's a little harder to get things done. So I do estate planning, but I do some probate, which means, closing up an estate or handling an estate. Not much of my practice is that, but mailing things to the courts take longer, then they have to process it. That takes about a week longer. It's just a little bit slower, but maybe a couple weeks. So it's not horrible, but it's just noticeable. Well, really, my speed in preparing the documents as their attorney hasn't slowed down necessarily. I'm able to once they give me the intake form, I'm able to get their stuff to them pretty quickly within a week. So that hasn't slowed down necessarily. My hours have been more limited because school has been pushed back, and they're adjusting to remote learning and things like that, so I've had to adjust. Sometimes I have my daughter here, it's unavoidable, but I'm a mom as well as a business owner, so the beauty of my job is I can be flexible, which is why I love my office space where I am and what I do.
Sullivan had just moved her business to a new location in November of last year before everything began, but she says she would have made the same decision to move even if she knew she wouldn't get to use it until almost a full year later.
I was settled in. I didn't get a chance to paint the office, but I did miss getting to use it, but it was kind of, bad timing, definitely. But it was nice when things picked up. I was already here, so I didn't have to move. But it was, before this, I was across the street, closer to the tap, but it was an upstairs location. And the reason we chose this one is a lot of my clients are older and it's a first level. So it's safer. It makes me feel a little bit better that they're not climbing stairs as they come to see me. So I would have moved regardless, just for their safety and for my peace of mind that they're okay. Yeah.
Sullivan's being closer to the ground, it's a little harder to ignore the difficulties of M24 construction, at least in some ways.
It's a little louder, but that's nothing I can't handle. I've had a couple clients coming from Macomb. Like I said, I moved here 4 years ago, so I'm still learning my way. And so I had to pull up a map and kind of guide her through the back streets. I don't know what the names of them are. So I'm learning the streets at least. But it hasn't done too much, really. No. I'm excited for things to get back to normal, and have the festivals that we've had, and the downtown's so great, so I'm excited to see what it's going to look like, but also have the community again out there.
Despite some of the obstacles this year has thrown her way, Sullivan says she's gained a few customers.
This health crisis has brought to the fear of mortality and what could happen of being seriously ill. So that's come out a lot more. No one wants to think about their death, which is a lot of times why people put off doing this. But everyone does pass away at some point, and even if you have a power of attorney document and you're sick, it's important to have. And I think COVID and the fact that it affects every single type of person kind of has pushed it to a priority for a lot of people. So I focus mainly on estate planning, and it's a subject that I've had my daughter ask me, Mom, why do you talk about death all the time? And prior to moving up here, I used to do divorce, and I did child abuse cases in Indiana, and those were super stressful, and oddly enough, death is less stressful, but it also gives me a lot of pleasure in helping people, because this is something you need to make your life easier and make your loved ones' lives easier. And I try to make it as easy as possible, because it's not something that's fun to think about, but it's something that's really important. And I think that that's something that people always have on their to-do list, but it's easy to put off. Yeah. I mean, I just recently got my own parents to do their will, and I've been licensed for almost like 15, 16 years. But people put it off. It's just easy to do. So, I'm here and I'm happy to work with people and explain it and educate them. And so it's important to have all of those documents that I do with an estate plan. For people who are parents and they have young children, it's important to have that guardian lined up, someone who's going to care for your children if you're not there. No one wants to think that's going to happen, but it could. With a trust, that protects your property so that you don't have to go through probate and your loved ones don't have to go through the legal system and incur attorney's fees and all of that stuff. Powers of attorney and healthcare powers of attorney are super important too, because those are the ones that if you were still alive but incapacitated, someone can speak on your behalf, and that's something that people often will overlook. But by not having those, you're putting your loved ones to have to go through that process of becoming your guardian through the court system. It's not pleasant, it's not easy, but just having those documents there, and even a living will, a DNR, what are your wishes, and explaining those. I always tell clients too, is once you drop those documents, don't just put them away, make sure that you're reviewing them too, because things change and life happens. With healthcare needs, also, you talk to your family about what you like and what you don't like and what you want, because you don't want someone to be surprised. Life isn't like a movie where you're surprised you're the guardian of my child. Make sure that's okay, but it's important to line all those things up, because you just never know what tomorrow may bring. And all of us have to realize that, as hard it is, to hear.
She says one thing that keeps her and her clients going sometimes is a furry, four-legged friend.
So I have my pup Lily here, and she's 2 years old, so she's still got a lot of puppy in her, but she's my emotional support animal for clients that come in. She wants belly rubs and loves to be loved, but it's, She also adds a little element of humor before. So there have been a few client meetings where she's snored, or she'll start drinking her water in the middle of it, or even farting once too for a client. But it's the moment of levity that you need where you're laughing. But she is something that kind of gives me a little bit of fuzzies, when I'm talking about things that are hard. It's nice to have a, buddy here.
When it comes down to business, Sullivan says she's flexible to whatever her clients need.
My consultations the first consultation's always free, and I'm happy to do that in person, or I've done a lot of consultations over the phone, but that's always free, so that I can a lot of people come in thinking, oh, I just need this will, and that's all I need. I like to explain the process and educate them, and they might change their mind on what they need at that point. So, that's what I like to do, is to kind of clear up misconceptions and guide them in the right direction.
Now from law to health, again, it's Alexis with JDR Wealth Management.
Really, the pandemic has been more of a burden than anything from overall what we got going on.
Jeffrey Rowe, owner and wealth advisor of JDR Wealth Management, says one of the main things COVID-19 changed was a practice they already had in place. The rest was just adjusting to the new norm.
Really what it's done is just transition everybody to kind of virtual services or virtual aspects, but really I've had that set up for going on 4 years now, because I have clients out of state around the nation, so we've been doing those same virtual services for clients out of state beforehand. It was just getting local people used to it. Absolutely. And people used to the technology. So for the most part, it wasn't too bad, because we've always been paperless since I've started JDR Wealth Management. We utilize text messaging and some different other things that have been relatively new. But the biggest part was just the sheer number of hours and hand-holding, right, and the service and different things that were going on. So really the busy part was that March, April for me, and navigating that around and controlling clients' emotions and helping them out through all that uncertainty of what's going on.
That's stepping in to do what he does best.
I have a couple different areas. I have consulting work that I have planning side of things where we do just hourly or fee-based programs. So if somebody says, hey, I could be happy with whoever they're working with, but maybe I don't know, all my assets are in my employer. There's nothing you can manage for me. But I like to know what I need to do to retire. How much should I be saving? We work with a lot of people in that aspect, putting together full detailed financial plans, where they're at. Really what we've seen a lot of this year is clients who have assets all over the place, right? They've had 3 or 4 different jobs and they've left things scattered. Well, once something hits the fan, hey, we need to consolidate where we're at. And then on the other side, we have a lot of small business owners as well, where we help them navigate, business planning, employee benefits packages when it comes to 401ks and simple IRAs and whatnot. And that's really been the crux of it. So it's kind of, upper middle class, if you were to say where we're at, much of the demographics of where we live, and helping them navigate their financial life. So really what my advice is, and it kind of falls in within my value proposition. So my job, working with anybody, if it's individuals or business owners, is to provide objective planning all the way through whatever the cycle is. It could be their personal life, it could be their business life. And everything that we do, we try to put together a rigorous, relentless discipline, because I can't predict the future. I can't do any of these other things, but we want to eliminate emotion. And I don't know if it's more of the clients that we work with or the way we've discussed that before. Clients got a little emotional, but nobody extremely panicked, right? We spent 12 hours on the phone March and April, but we're able to navigate everything pretty smoothly for the most part. It's not easy for them. The combination of COVID and road construction. I know a couple of people I've talked with, hey, too bad we couldn't delay the road construction. I'm like, I'm maybe more of the camp of let's just rip the Band-Aid off, get it over within 1 year versus stretch it out into 2. Stressful. It's definitely stressful for them, and it's never easy to see your business not doing what it's supposed to, right? I had business goals myself that I wanted to get done this year that COVID put the hold on, right? You got to kind of roll with the streams, and that's where I think it's always important to know where you're at, have a game plan of what you want to get accomplished, and being able to navigate it when you hit rough water.
Those game plans kept Rowe and his company out of rough water this year.
actually, it's been a pretty good year. It was pretty rocky, you know, like I said, March, April time frame, but that really led into the wave of, hey, I need to talk to somebody, or I need a second opinion. Knock on wood, we've done well from a client retention standpoint for myself, but I think that gets into the service model. You know, we've been here for everybody. We've navigated everything. We've had technology that made everything a little bit easier to continue doing business with. Yeah, fortunately everything's been okay there, and I feel pretty fortunate to say that with, you know, what other people are dealing with.
It also helped him keep his clients and recruit new ones.
We've actually had a lot more people come in, especially throughout the summer and late spring, who, you know, my joke with them is nobody really is interested in talking with somebody when everything's going great like it was in 2019. Come around 2020 and COVID, everybody wants a second opinion of what's going on and where they need to be. Yeah. So from an investment standpoint, everybody who's really, you know, stuck to their guns, they've rebounded. I won't say we're out of the water yet, or, you know, not into the clear. There's still probably going to be some storms to come through, elections and doing different things, but, you know, for the most part, when we at least align people to their proper goals, you know, long-term things are long-term things, and we want to keep them on that game plan and keep them to that perspective. But it's not easy at the same time, right? There's clients who, you know, been out of work, clients who've seen, you know, business down, where, hey, we got to pay employees, or hey, I can't get a PPP loan, or who do you need to do that, or whatever the case is. You know, there's been a lot of that, a lot of hand-holding, a lot of, you know, the value add of working with someone like myself.
M24 construction for Roe has been challenging, but he's optimistic about it finishing.
But at the same time, you know, we're not having somebody really walk in to the door without an appointment from that standpoint. So it's navigating them, coaching them how to get around, depends where they're coming from. I had one client that he was coming out of work and he just ran with Google Maps, and I completely forgot to mention to him. So he got here, he goes, "Don't ever make me do that again." I'm like, "That's just a one-off." I go, "I apologize. I got sidetracked with meetings earlier in the day, and I forgot to give him an update of directions." But, you know, I had a client this morning that they were coming from kind of the east side, and hey, coach them how to get here, how to avoid school traffic in some different areas, and you know, having that communication with them. So talking has been the biggest key on getting them here. So my running joke is, so my daughter goes to Goddard right here in town, right? And drop her off at daycare. I'm less than an eighth of a mile, and it takes me 20 minutes to get around the block. So if I'm ever running late in the morning, that makes it a little more difficult. They're like, "Hey, can I get through the construction without anything affecting me or anything of that nature?" But again, you know, it's living here, or went to school here, kind of knowing how to get around town's been helpful, and trying to explain that to other people when they come to see you is important as well. I think just from what they have going on right now, just the new street lights and the streetscape just on the east side of town looks fantastic. So seeing some of the greenery, some of the new lighting requirements, you know, probably the smooth road for a while before the gravel trains get to them. Hopefully everything's a little bit quieter when you are downtown, and it makes walking around a little bit easier and a little more friendly. You know, that's what I'm looking forward towards.
Well, that's all the time for this week. So for our reporter, Alexis Ware, and photographer Stephen Brower, and for our production manager and editor, Stuart Stiles, I'm Bill Service. Hope to see you again on our Community Access.